As content creators, social media can feel really overwhelming. This month, we are diving into several of the social media platforms to get a better understanding of how, as content creators and as podcasters, we can make the most of being on those platforms. Today, we have Meg Brunson, who is a marketing strategist who has even worked for Facebook at one point. Meg has such a wealth of knowledge when it comes to Facebook. We talked everything Facebook groups, business page versus private page, how to go about navigating the content that we're creating, what to share in those places, and so much more. Remember, even if you're not on Facebook, there are still things in this conversation that were really relevant to any social media platforms, specifically making collaborations the priority. Please join me in welcoming Meg to the podcast. Hello, Meg. I am so excited to have you back on the show. So if you could start by telling everyone who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm excited to be here. You know, I love any opportunity to chat with you and collaborate with you. And so I'm thrilled to be here. I am a marketing expert and a content coach. I have a unique story because I did not start off as a marketer. I started off as just somebody who wanted to start a business, make more money, contribute to my family income. But marketing was a necessity. And I found out I was actually kind of good at it. Got hired by Facebook, worked at Facebook for a while, which kind of just took my skills and my experiences to another level. And then when I left Facebook to come back to the entrepreneurial world because it had captured my heart, and no matter how cool the working at Facebook was, they still wanted me there 40 hours a week. They still only gave me so much time off. And so I needed to return to this entrepreneurial lifestyle. And I think it's a combination of all of those facts and details that kind of differentiates me from other people that are out there in the space. I started focusing just on paid ads. Then I expanded into more organic content. And now when I work with clients and for myself, I work with content across so many different platforms, from podcasts and video content, blog posts, written content, and then kind of how to take that content that you're creating already, your podcast, whatever, your blog, and then turn that into a content marketing plan in a more broad sense. But my Facebook is still, my heart will always be there. That will always be home. That'll always be my strongest platform because of those experiences I had, on the inside.
Yeah. And that's such a unique perspective too, because I feel like a lot of people, especially in the online space, are sleeping on Facebook, right? But if someone is look, that's where I'm most comfortable. That's where I find myself scrolling at night. That's where I want to hang out. That's where I'd like to position myself. What are some things that they can do right off the bat to be more strategic?
Yeah, and if it's okay, I just want to mention before I answer that question, Social Media Examiner, they're a huge social media resource in the world. And every year they do this research. What is it called? They ask questions, right? A survey. Yeah. And so they released the results. And it's funny that marketing on Facebook has been steadily declining since 2018. Steady decline. However, it's still bigger than any other social media platform. So even though every year, less and less marketers are focusing on Facebook, that's a fact. On the flip side of things, more people are focused on Facebook than any other platform still. So it's you have to keep both of those stats kind of in mind. It sounds like maybe I should jump ship because other people are jumping ship, but it's still the biggest piece of the pie or whatever. So I just want to kind of mention that too, because it's good to keep in mind when you're considering where you want to be or where you want to focus your attention and energy. And then circling back to your question, I think the number one thing, it's not sexy, but it is to make sure that your profile is optimized. And I want to say your personal profile is optimized and your business page is optimized, both things. And what I mean, let's start with the business page because I feel like that's the easiest one. When you go to your business page and you click about and you click edit, there's all these sections that you can fill out. They should all be filled out and they should all be accurate and relevant for where you are right now. I try to go through. For me, I typically do it over the holiday break between Christmas and New Year's when everything seems to shut down. And that's when I try to go through and review all of these things. It's just become a habit for me. I do it now every year around the holidays. Find what works for you. you have to remember that that there is a chance that somebody finds you on Facebook first. And if they find you on Facebook first and go to your profile and there's no information or it's not captivating, they're not going to your website. So I feel like we take a lot of pride in our website and then maybe don't focus as much on our profile presence. But you want those two things to be aligned. You want your profile to compel people to click over to your website and learn more about you and what you do. So that's number one. 1A, 1.2, 1.5 is your personal profile. So I think a big part of success on Facebook goes beyond your profile and your page. When you're marketing on your page or your profile, you're typically marketing to a warm audience. Those are people who hit the like button, who like your page, who are your friend, whatever, however strong that friendship is, right? They know you in some way, shape, or form. But we need to find a way to get in front of new people on Facebook. And if you've got a big budget and tons of money, ads are great. But I'm guessing you probably don't. Most of us don't.
Right.
Like the solopreneurs, like that's not us. So what do you do? And that's where groups come into play. You can host your own group. That's a strategy too. But often it's easier, right, to find other groups where your ideal people are hanging out and join those groups, deliver value, give help, etc. And then your personal profile becomes like the lead magnet almost, right? Because I'm talking very relationship marketing. You're not going into these groups and being like, if you give me your email address, I'll give you the answers. No, you're sharing the answers. You're building relationships. You're collaborating. You're being helpful. You're asking your own questions and getting feedback so you don't just look like a brown noser who's knows all the answers, that you're actually like on the journey with people, right? Like, so you should be acting like your true self. But if we're both in a group and I'm helping you and you're chatting with me, you're going to go to my profile. That's what you do next to kind of see, right? We all want to stalk. Like, who is this person we just met? What are they posting about? Can I identify what their values are? What do they do for a living? Where do they work? Those are all the questions we have. If you go to the personal profile and there's bare bones, nothing, now you're like, is this a bot? Is it a real person? How long have they been on? Like, now you've got red flags. There's a balance between, right? Because your personal profile isn't meant to be a business profile. And so there is a balance. And you'll choose the balance that fits for you. You'll notice if you go to my personal profile, like the header image is my family. Some people use that as like a business billboard. Not saying that's wrong. I chose to use that for my family. If you go in like my little bio though, that's more businessy. And I've got a link to like my page. It links to my stuff. So that's a little more businessy. That's kind of how I've balanced it. So you can get a little feel for my family and my personality and my photos, and then a little more businessy in my little about section there so people can learn more about you.
Yes. So I love that as like a very first thing for people to do, right? Because it's easy, it's actionable. You can take an hour or less to go do that. It's not something that has to be super crazy. And I also love that you talked about this being a relationship, right? With so many people still being on Facebook and still using Facebook. I mean, I've seen people, good, bad, and different, use their personal profile as like full on selling machines. I've seen them kind of marry the two, like you said, where it's kind of like a combination of your business as well as your personal. I've seen ones where it's almost exclusively personal, but they might dabble in, oh, this is, what I do, or this is what I have going on right now, and then redirecting people to their page. So there's a lot of variety there. And I think a lot of options to feel into what feels best for you, right? Especially if you want one platform to be your focus. I think so often, especially with the digital age, we feel like we have to be everywhere. And that's not necessarily true. I mean, even for my business page, I have content that's evergreen that gets scheduled out. That is natively scheduled in Facebook to make sure that Facebook likes it and is happy about it, but goes to my business page. And then if there's something that I'm really excited about, or maybe an event I'm speaking at, then those are the ones that go on my personal profile, right? The business one's got all the business stuff. And it's like, oh no, I'm speaking. This is going on my personal one. So I really think it's just like, do what works for you, find that balance, and then go from there. You mentioned groups. What are some pros and cons that we can consider with either the amount of time that it can take to sift through quality groups, right? Because that is an issue. Or if it makes sense to create your own group, what kind of timeline does that actually look like to grow a high quality group? How often should we maybe be going live in groups or live on our pages if we are business owners, right? What are some additional things that we can maybe consider?
Lots of stuff there. Cool. So I feel like the group discussion is always a big one. Do I start my own group or not? So let's just go with you want to start your own group for right now. Let's just tackle those people. I think the number one key thing is that the group should be built around community and not around a business. So yes, you are a business owner. You have a podcast. You have a blog. However, think about you as a person looking to join a group. Do you want to join Meg's marketing group, or do you want to join a content marketing mastery group? Which that is not my group. I don't have that group. I'm just trying to think of something off the top of my head that sounds cooler, right? Meg's marketing group. If you know me, you might be like, hell yeah, I want to join your marketing group. But the problem is there's more people that don't know me than there are people that know me. And that's true for everybody unless you're Oprah, right? So you want that community to be around a community topic and not self-centered. So I feel like that's like tip number one is figure out what is going to bring your people in. It is you, right? It's like you're unique and no one does things like you. Like, yes, that's all true. But that like initial thing has got to be something deeper than you. I'm not trying to be negative towards how important the people are.
It's like casting a wider net, right?
Yeah.
Because so say you're a productivity coach, right? You wouldn't say Alicia's productivity mastermind, right? You would say productivity for the busy mom entrepreneur or productivity for this type of person, right? The person that you want to say, oh my goodness, that's me. Or I need support around that, because that's what they're going to be searching for. They're not going to be searching for my name, most likely. They're going to be searching for the topic. Like just thinking about like how I interact with Facebook and Facebook groups specifically. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And I think that it's a good strategic way. Now, I'm also curious because and maybe this might just be my own bias. I have some feelings about groups and how they're managed. Right. And so like there's kind of this same with the profile. There's this balance between what's your favorite ice cream and here are some marketing strategies. And I feel like the what's your favorite ice cream, while it engages people and might bring up engagement, it's so fluff.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of business owners try to use the fluff to create engagement or to create content, when I think that it does us a disservice by doing that. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Now, I will say, I think there is space for some of the fluff, but it's a very little bit of space. So like I have a whole like graphic that I'm happy I can share it with you afterwards because I'm trying to like visual, but it's like the different types of content. So like I identify 5 like core types of content. One is holidays. We'll talk about that in a minute because I don't mean ice cream day and, you know, whatever those, I don't mean that. Then there is, let's see if I can get them all right. There is educational content. There's entertaining content, credibility content, and promotional content. And then within those buckets, like let's look at the 4. Let's put holidays out for a minute. Within those buckets, there's sub buckets, right? So entertaining content includes things like inspiration posts, like quotes. It includes things like market research questions, which like you alluded to, we have to get real clear, like asking ice cream versus like asking what their favorite social media platform is or whatever related to your business. Like the goal with those market research questions is to get them chatting and to learn more so that you can better serve your people going forward. Now, if you are going to plan an ice cream social at the end of the year, then asking them that might make sense. Or that might be some people have that thing about them, like that thing. Like if ice cream is your thing, it's like a constant theme in your branding. I mean, mine might be like, what's your favorite shade of pink? right? Because I love pink. I've got pink hair. There's usually pink in my glasses. Like I'm all about pink. So like that might be kind of a funny on brand. So anyhow, I'm going on a little tangent. But there's other buckets like that. And so when you look at all those buckets, which may feel overwhelming, but like those inspiration posts, they should be like once a month. Those quotes, not weekly, not 3 times a week, once a month, because sometimes they still do work, right? Sometimes people still read a quote and are like, man, that hit today, da 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 da. But you have to like balance the fluff, and it should be way more substance to a little bit of fluff. And
Yeah.
growing a group is tough because of that. Like it's a time commitment. Do you want to join a group that has under 100 people in it? Realistically, do you?
No.
Probably not. But like everyone's got to start somewhere. So you've got to be in it for the long haul. There's got to be a reason for people to join. I've seen people who will host like a training, like a live training inside the group. It's free to attend and it gets people to join the group because that's what they have to do to watch the training. Right. So like there are strategies like that that will get people into the group a little bit faster, but you've got to engage them to keep them active. So it's not a strategy we're gonna cover in a 20-minute call, but it's something to think about. Do you have the time to do that? I also think it's very important if you're starting a group to have community agreements. Kind of goes hand in hand with rules, but like, what's the culture that you want to facilitate in this group? Because there are some groups on social media, you get like keyboard warriors and things can get like mean. And like, it's not just spammy, but it's like setting the expectation about what the culture in this group is and cultivating that culture so that people know what to expect and want to be there. I don't think it's for the faint of heart, right? Like you have to be willing to do that. And I think it can accompany a podcast nicely because it can give you the opportunity to interact with your guests. With the podcast, you interact with the host if you've got that kind of a podcast, or you're just speaking into the mic. It allows you to get some of that back and forth.
And I've seen people do it a bunch of different ways, right? Where going back to like getting people into the group, I've seen people run summits and then every night they would have the guests or one of the like top guests do a live with them in the group, and you had to be in the group if you wanted to win prizes and things like that. I've seen people who are podcast hosts and they actually do their podcast live in their group first and then repurpose it into a podcast. I mean, there's so many ways that you can go about it, but you really do. You have to be in it for the long haul. I think it would behoove a lot of people, especially service providers, if they didn't create groups, because I think that right now your focus should be getting clients, making money. And so it would make more sense to be in other people's groups. And so I think you really have to consider what your long-term goals are. And if you have the capacity or the desire, or you're just doing it because someone said, oh, this is a good idea. Like, why are we doing it? And then go from there. So if someone is, say, a service provider, or they're just a content creator, but they're looking to maybe grow their thought leadership or their ability to show up as a leader in their industry, then it would probably make sense, you could correct me if I'm wrong, to be in other people's groups. With that in mind, what are some strategies that they can do?
Yeah. I think it's important, just to kind of piggyback off of that we don't compare ourselves to other groups. It's easy to look at an established group and to see the success of the person behind it who, let's just say, is a service provider like you, and to think, I need to do all of these things so I can get their success. Remember that they didn't build Rome in a day. They likely had a few clients under their belt, maybe even a VA or a team member before they launched the community. So it's important to keep that in mind. You don't have to be doing all the things that somebody else is doing. And finding the group. So this is where it's a little bit of trial and error. Let's just be honest. You can do a search for a search term, right? And some groups will pop up and they're going to show you the most populated, like they're going to show you the recommended groups first. I like to look at, when you click into the group, it'll give you some sort of data about how many new posts have been today or new posts have been this week. So something like that gives you an idea for how lively the group is. So it's like the number of people in the group, the activity of the group, and then that's all you can really find out before you go into the group itself and feel the vibe. Figure out what the community is like in there and whether it fits with you. I actually don't think promotional, like some groups will have like self-promotion Saturday. I think those are a complete waste, to be honest. Like, it makes people feel good because they can post their thing. And I've done that. I've walked the walk. I've stomped that path, and I never get a huge influx of people off of a self-promotion post. And I very rarely go back and read all of them. I might look at the couple that are most relevant or recent when I'm posting. And so I don't worry about that so much. What I'm looking for is people asking questions. Like, if people are asking questions, that's what you want so that you can give your 2 cents. And so it's like, you just have to jump in a few, jot down. I mean, you can go into Facebook and see all of your groups, but I would leave the ones you're not interested in, stay in the ones you are interested in. Facebook will continue. So this is funny. Since we're on video, I can show you this. These are like crazy glasses that have like a top you can take off, right? Mm-hmm. And these little toppers, there's Facebook groups for them. Well, these are new glasses. So I joined like a couple topper groups. Now they're everywhere. They want me to join 150 topper groups, right? They're everywhere. And so this isn't business related, but it's real life related. Like, I went through, I ended up finding 3 groups that I really like, and I left all the rest. And I don't even look at any more because you can't stretch your focus too thin, right? You find like the couple that you're like, these are my people. This is my group. This is what I like. And just stay there, be there, give it at least 90 days before you do another like big search for new groups. And like I said, show up as you. It helped me a couple years ago. I wish I remember now who said it, but I had this mindset shift. Somebody else gave it to me, right? This isn't my like unique idea, but you stop going into networking events, which could be in-person networking or online networking. You stop going in there thinking that you're looking for clients. You're not looking for clients. You're looking for collaborative partners. You're looking for other people who can, like, you guys can each help each other grow. You're a copywriter who's looking for a graphic designer, right? You're not looking for a copywriting client. Like, if you get one client, I'm sure that's going to feel good. But imagine pairing with a graphic designer, and that graphic designer sends all their graphic design clients to you, and you send all your copywriting clients to them, and how beautiful that relationship is. So it's like we have to change the way that we're showing up in these spaces. We're not trying to sell our products. We're not trying to get the next client. We're trying to showcase who we are, share our knowledge and expertise, build relationships, and the clients come from that.
Yeah. And I think that really applies no matter what platform we're looking at, right? So this could be Facebook, it could be Instagram, it could be TikTok, it could be LinkedIn groups, it could be your podcast, it could be the guests on your podcast, right? All of these connections that we're creating. And I think that this is more important now than it probably ever has been. All these connections are about collaborating or connecting or supporting each other. That is going to go so much further than saying, oh, I need clients for this, or hey, can you send people my way for this? Or, if you don't have anything to give, then like, just give what you can. And like going into groups, like you said, answering questions, giving value, not just saying, oh, I have a podcast episode on that. Here's the link. Give value and say, I go even deeper on an episode. I'd be happy to send it to you if you'd like, right? Like, being you. How would you interact with someone at the grocery store? I remember seeing this video recently, and I feel like this really drives it home, is someone was trying to approach people on the street, how people are approached in LinkedIn DMs.
Oh my gosh.
Very awkward. Right? Like, no, that's not how we talk to people. So why are we doing that on social media? No, let's bring the personality back in. Let's bring the person-to-person connection back into all of this and just be you and show up with quality. And like you said, finding those collaborations is going to help expand your business. It is going to put you in front of the right people because those are the people that are going to say, oh, I know someone. I know someone who can
Yeah.
help with that. That is going to help so much more. So yeah, I could not agree more.
And it expands, this is like true story, right? It expands the groups that you're in. Like I've built relationships in one group with one person, and then I'll get tagged in a group I'm not in, or somebody will send me a message and be like, oh, I found you in XYZ group. And I'm like, but I'm not in XYZ group. They're like, oh, well, somebody posted about you there. And it's like, if I'm in 3 groups and you're in 3 groups and we're in like one similar group, but the other 2 groups are different, it's like you become in more groups through other people's referrals. And sometimes then I do join those groups. I'll often mute them because I'm not actually like there to be there because I can't be everywhere.
Right.
But if I know that people are talking about me in XYZ group, I might as well join the group, put it on mute, but then I'll get pinged when somebody talks about me and stuff like that happens. Like that's how it plays out.
Yeah. And that's so vital, right? Like being able to show up like that, getting tagged, making those connections, even if you're doing it for other people. I think this reciprocity tends to get overlooked, right? So I was just talking to a client today about this, that at the end of his conversations with the guest in the green room, he's done. And one thing I do is I'll always say at the end, one, how did that go? Do you feel good and confident about that conversation? Awesome. Usually they do. And the second thing is, how can I support you? Are you looking for any connections? Is there anything that I can do your episode might be going live in like 3 or 4 months. So how can I keep this relationship that was a lot of fun alive longer than just, oh, your episode goes live in a few months. We'll talk then, or we'll talk later. No. How can I support you today? How can I make a difference? Or is there someone you're looking for that I can connect you with today? No, that's okay. Awesome. Like this was great. And usually they'll say back, because it's the polite thing to do, who can I connect you with? Are you looking for anyone that I can connect you with? And if I am, then I'll say so. If I'm not, I'll say, not at this moment, but if anybody comes to mind, then I'll let you know, right? So it still keeps that relationship alive. And I think that can take us so much further than just posting and ghosting, right? Or just being like, I'm an expert, okay, bye. That's not going to work. And I think we can do better, especially as business owners, which is why I think it's so important that we are focusing on 1 or 2 places rather than trying to spread ourselves thin. Because if we do, say our focus is Facebook and LinkedIn, if we're also on TikTok and Instagram actively, then we're not going to be able to show up the way we want in these other places. So give yourself, 1, some grace and some space to show up in the places that feel fun, feel exciting, because you're going to show up 100 times better in those.
It's true. I agree with everything you just said.
Is there anything else that we need to be considering? We talked Facebook profiles, Facebook business pages, groups. Are there any other things that we need to be considering? I know there's a lot more with our reels, and I feel like there's so much we could go into that, but just basic
I feel
level
like
stuff.
Reels and stories, yes, they exist on Facebook, but they haven't taken off on Facebook the same way that they have on Insta or obviously TikTok. That's this whole ballgame. I think the only other thing that I'd want to mention is ads, because once you're posting on your Facebook page, Facebook makes money through ads and they want you to boost posts. And I'm not against running ads. What I am against is donating money to Mark Zuckerberg. And I think too many people try to run ads too early without a clear strategy for how to get that money back. And so what you're doing is just giving the money to Mark, and he doesn't need it. He has enough. Keep your money. Don't boost a post. Don't boost a post. I think until you're ready to actually dive into how to leverage Facebook ads strategically for a return on your investment, selling something, don't run ads. I think I just want to put that out there, that it's just not worth it to get more people seeing your post.
Yeah, I have to agree 100%. I think the only places where I have found okay success, right? Like I'm not an ads expert by any means, but I understand the basics of it and can run ads myself if I need to. The places that I've seen success in 2024 has been Pinterest ads and LinkedIn
Mm-hmm.
ads because they're not as common, I would say, as a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the other platforms ads. And so those do better. And also considering that podcast conversations or the podcast, these things that I'm already doing lead to new clients. These things lead to engagement, which is what I need to pay the bills and what I need to move my business forward. So focusing on what works instead of just handing our money over, right? Like focus on what works. And everything you've said works right now. So do those things first. Like you said, give yourself 90 days to be in a group, to collaborate, connect, get in front of your people. And then from there, decide, is this still serving me? Is this still where I want to be? Gave it my all. I did my best. No? Okay, cool. Let's move on to somewhere else. So yeah, I 100% agree. We don't need to donate our money to these big
And
boys.
I am an ads expert. I mean, that's what I did at like when I worked at Facebook. I worked in their like ads and marketing department. Like that is my area of expertise, and so I'm happy to tell you not to do it. And for what it's worth, a couple years ago at Podfest, I did a case study on Facebook ads for podcasters, and I included little teeny tiny podcasts you've probably never heard of, and I've included some of the big hot shots that all agreed to participate in this case study. And the end result was, unfortunately, basically that it doesn't matter. That Facebook ads can get your podcast a little spike, but they don't stick around. It can make your numbers look better, but if that's not authentic, it's not actually helpful. So just another little bit that that if your people are thinking about it, I just don't think that's worth it either. And I could talk more about that at any point, but
Yeah, I think that's so good. And what could I do instead? I highly recommend getting on other people's podcasts that are aligned because not only do you get to make a connection with someone who could be a collaboration, a client, or know someone, right? They could be a referral, but you also are pulling podcast listeners where they're already at and redirecting them back to your podcast. Those are the people that you'll see that spike and that consistent growth, and that, oh, these people are interested. These people do like my show. They are sticking around. They're binge listening past episodes. Those are the people that are going to stick around. Whereas people on social media, not necessarily. They're there for the discovery and that is it. They might not be avid listeners. So get yourself on other people's podcasts. You'll see a lot more bang for your buck that way than if you are trying to talk about your podcast so much via ads or those kinds of things. So
100%.
This has been so good, Meg. Thank you so much for giving us the lowdown. Now I'm like, okay, well, I need to go back to my business page and make sure everything's aligned and makes sense and is still the right copy because I probably did that like 2 or 3 years ago before we changed our copy. I need to go do that. And so I'm like, all right, that's something to do over either the holidays or very soon. So thank you so much for giving us those quick and easy, down and dirty tips that we can take action on right away. If someone is like, I need help or I want to know more about how to work with you, how can people get to know you and connect with you?
Thank you so much for asking. So I have a low ticket membership offer. It's a $10 a month content marketing membership. And honestly, it's not just prompts. So like giving people prompts of what to write about and graphics of that they can post with those prompts are great. That's like the training wheels. And I do offer that in this program. But we also talk a lot about how to take your core content, your podcast that you're already recording every week, and turn that into the emails you should be sending and the social media posts that you should be posting that you may not be posting. Like you already have the content, you just have to pull it out of those recordings and how to do that and how to establish that consistency. And, I'm not a pitcher. I'm not a pitcher, so I'm not going like much deeper than that. But you can go to Content Marketing Membership to learn more about that. And you can find me and all my social media links at MegBrunson.com.
Awesome. And we'll make sure that we link that in the show notes for anyone who's driving around or doing other things and they might not be able to grab those. Those links will be in the show notes. Please go connect with Meg. She's awesome. And I love connecting with you again and just seeing your posts on social media and all that stuff. We've been in the online space for quite a bit now together. So I'm so glad to have reconnected with you and had you on the podcast again.
Thank you so much.